this is the part that I'm going to enjoy the most if the Republicans' version of no tax on overtime actually passes. I am going to laugh my fucking ass off at all of the people who I know that don't do this, but are sitting there waiting to get that overtime pay, right? So what are we talking about? We're talking about the Republicans' bill to end no tax on overtime, but which doesn't really end tax on overtime. Per the bill, if you work overtime, you get paid overtime on your paycheck. You're still going to have payroll taxes withheld. The government's going to take the money like it always has. Then, next year, when you file your taxes, if you meet certain thresholds, right? If your overtime income wasn't 20% or more of your pay, and if you're under certain income levels, then you get to write off a portion of that income tax. In other words, they take a little off the tax liability at the end of the year. Hardly what was promised, right? You're going to get to keep all of your overtime. We're not going to take any money out of your check for overtime, and you're going to get to keep it. Now that's boiled down to, well, we might get a little bit of a tax break next year when we file our taxes if we hit the, certain thresholds. But here's the thing. You're going to have to itemize. You're going to have to itemize. In my opinion, you're going to have to itemize to get that. I don't see how it's going to be a situation where they're just going to automatically give it to you. But hey, maybe I'm mistaken on that. You're going to have to itemize. And there are so many people out there, so many blue-collar workers that work overtime, don't itemize on their taxes, and won't meet the thresholds because they make over what you're supposed to be under in order to earn the tax credit. So if this bill passes, a vast majority of the people who think they're going to be living it up, they're all going to be getting extra cheese on their Whoppers because they're going to have all this extra money. Their paychecks aren't going to fucking change. They're going to get around the tax season. They're going to do their taxes. They're going to take the general deduction. I forget what it's called now. And they're just going to move on with their lives. And then they're going to wonder why the fuck they didn't get their tax break for their overtime work. Because you didn't fucking itemize. You didn't itemize. Listen, we itemize because we have businesses, right? We itemize everything. We don't just take the general standard deduction and then move on. We have boxes of receipts and folders full of documents that we bring to our accountants, and they squeeze out every last bit of loophole for us, just like everybody else who works with an accountant. But the plumber in your neighborhood who's busting his ass and working overtime, he's not going to see any relief on his overtime, right? The guy who works for the carpenter company in town and he goes out building houses and busts his ass and works a shit ton of overtime, he's not going to see any tax break on his taxes as a result of this. A, because he probably doesn't itemize, or B, because he doesn't meet the thresholds, makes over what you're supposed to make. And when that happens, if they pass this bill, this no tax on overtime bill, when that happens, I am going to fucking eat it up with a spoon because all of these people are too fucking stupid to realize they're being lied to.